For centuries, the teachings about the return of Yeshua have been a subject of debate and controversy. Various interpretations have arisen, some distorting the clear warnings and promises that Yeshua himself shared with his disciples. In a time when many false prophets are trying to confuse believers, it is crucial to return to the original words of Scripture, understanding both their context and their true meaning. We will now explore the return of Yeshua, his warning about deception, the coming judgment, and the glorious future that awaits the faithful. "2,000 years ago, Yeshua warned us about false prophets who, claiming to speak in his name, would teach that he would return in secret, in a hidden and unnoticed way, without any visible sign. Listen to me. Do not believe them. These are deceivers who are deliberately lying. There will be no secret rapture before the tribulation." Yeshua warned his disciples that there would be people who, even while recognizing him as the Messiah, would mislead many. He said that these false prophets, seeking their own gain, would do everything possible to confuse even the elect of Jehovah. Yeshua, on his part, instructed his disciples to teach their followers to pay close attention to these warnings. He told them that the discouragement caused by those false prophets would become a trap for his followers in the last days, and that if they did not take the warnings seriously, they would end up offended and eventually betray and hate one another, even to the point of death. Yeshua warned that when the abomination of desolation takes place, everyone in Jerusalem must flee immediately, without stopping, not even to grab their belongings. Not a single second should be lost. He said, "Pray that it may not happen on Shabbat, because no transport will be available, and that it may not happen in winter, when the cold will be relentless. The abomination of desolation will mark the beginning of a great tribulation, unlike anything humanity has ever experienced. Manipulative propaganda will confuse the majority, but only those who heed Yeshua's warnings will have hope of remaining faithful to the end." Yeshua declared that during those days of tribulation, if anyone says, "Look, here is the Messiah," or "Look, there he is," do not believe it. It is not me, for false messiahs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even the chosen ones. Some will teach that I will come in secret. Do not believe them. My coming will be like lightning that flashes across the sky from east to west. Yeshua made it clear that he will not return in secret, nor will there be a hidden rapture before the abomination of desolation that will mark the beginning of the great tribulation. False prophets will insist on a secret rapture, but do not believe them. People are fascinated by fairy tales and the excitement of special effects movies, preferring traditions over the warnings of the prophet who foretold this deception. No one will miss his coming. No false sign will be able to imitate it. Yeshua told us when and how his return would happen. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will no longer give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds with power and great glory. He will send his angels with the sound of trumpets, and they will gather his chosen ones from the four directions, from one end of the heavens to the other. What will be the sign of his coming? It will be when the sky is lit up with divine flashes of lightning that will be seen from the farthest points, beyond what the eye can reach. Then he will send his glorious angels to the graves of the righteous in the four corners of the earth. The dead will rise with incorruptible bodies, and the living will be transformed, clothed with immortality. This is the moment when we will be born again, with bodies that can inherit the kingdom of heaven, for flesh and blood cannot come near the Almighty. As Paul said, there are earthly bodies and heavenly bodies. What is made of flesh and bone is not eternal. This change from the earthly to the heavenly will happen in the blink of an eye. When will this change take place? At the sound of the last trumpet. The tribulation of those days will begin with the abomination of desolation and the appearance of the man of sin, the son of destruction. Yeshua will return after the sun, moon, and stars are darkened as a result of a war that will bring humanity to the brink of destruction. Do not fall for the lies of systematic theology, which cherry-picks verses to build an appealing but destructive religious buffet that distorts Yeshua's direct instructions to his disciples about the end of the age and the deceptions that will spread in his name. This sets the stage for the sixth trumpet, which is the second woe upon the inhabitants of the earth. When Yeshua returns, we will be caught up to meet him in the air, but he will not remain in heaven. He will take us before the throne, to the sea of glass mixed with fire, for the 10 days of awe, the judgment of the Messiah. There we will be judged to receive our reward. Yet many prefer to live their lives without understanding Yeshua's words, guided only by what their pastor says or what their denomination declares. The Gospel of Luke tells us that while the disciples were recounting their experience on the road to Emmaus, Yeshua stood in their midst and said to them, "Peace be with you, Shalom." But they were terrified and afraid, thinking they were seeing a spirit, a pneuma in Greek. And he said to them, "Why are you troubled? Why do doubts arise in your hearts? Look at my hands and my feet. It is I myself. Touch me and see." He didn't mention flesh and blood because his blood had been poured out for us, falling upon the right side of the Ark of the Covenant when the earth split open. That blood landed on the side of the Ark where the blood of bulls, lambs, calves, and even the Yom Kippur lamb had never fallen. Now, Yeshua is flesh and bone only. The life of the flesh is in the blood, but he no longer lives by blood. He lives by the Spirit. This is what makes Yeshua completely different. When he came out of the tomb, he was literally born again, not with a body of flesh and blood, but one that can dwell on earth and also appear before the throne in an instant. The women, not Miriam, but others who had prepared spices, rested on the weekly Shabbat, and then went to the tomb early on the first day of the week. An angel told them that Yeshua had risen. They ran back and told the 11, and then Yeshua appeared to them and said, "Yehovah Yoshia." This confirmed what the angel Gabriel had said to Miriam and Yosef. "You shall call his name Yeshua, for he will save." Yeshua, having received all authority in heaven and on earth, showed them his hands and feet of flesh and bone. They were so overjoyed and astonished to see their Messiah again that they could hardly believe it. Yeshua asked for something to eat, and they gave him a piece of broiled fish and a honeycomb, and he ate before them. Then he reminded them of what he had told them while still with them, that everything written about him in the law of Moses, in the prophets, and in the Psalms had to be fulfilled. Yet the Christian world doesn't want to believe that Yeshua will raise us from the dead, that we will be caught up to meet him in the air, to be taken to the sea of glass mixed with fire. There we will be judged according to our works, what we have done with the talents he gave us. Paul tells us that the works of wood and stubble will be consumed by fire, but the works of gold, silver, and precious stones will be purified. John saw this scene at the sea of glass mixed with fire. At the same time, the angels poured out the 7 bowls of God's wrath upon the earth. No one could approach the throne until all the bowls were poured out. After the last cup, Yeshua proclaimed, "It is finished." And for 5 more days we will prepare ourselves like the bride who dresses in righteous deeds, represented by gold, silver, and precious stones, purified by fire. Only those who are called by name will enter the marriage supper of the Lamb. The supper concludes on the 8th day of Sukkot, the great day of Shemini Atzeret, when Yeshua will return with his angels and take possession of the earth. This marks the war of Armageddon, detailed in the book of Revelation, in which Satan will be bound for 1,000 years. Then, those who are worthy to live and reign with him as priests will receive authority over cities, depending on their works in this life. Yeshua taught us that the kingdom of heaven is already among us, but many prefer to follow the teachings of their pastor or denomination without truly understanding Yeshua's words. Don't say you love him if you don't really obey him. The return of Yeshua will not be secret or hidden, but a grand and visible event for all humanity. Those of us who follow him faithfully, who stand firm in the face of deception and trials, will be rewarded and transformed. The warning is clear. We must not allow false doctrines or false prophets to deceive us. Let us follow Yeshua's teachings, remaining vigilant, so that we may be among those who will meet him in glory when he comes with power and great majesty.